So thanks yet again to the hard work and the diligence of Paula Mooney, aka Ponder. We have a new audio to listen to. So this audio I've gotten directly off Paula via her Patreon. So if you wanted to get a copy of it from her, there is a link to it in her Patreon where you can buy it. That said, I am going to put in a FOIA request for my own copy of this. I didn't know it existed, so I hadn't done a request for it yet. I'll put in a FOIA request for it, and once I do have a clean copy of it, then I will upload it onto my channel for anyone who wishes to use it. So this copy has naturally got Paula's watermark in the audio. So obviously if you are wanting to use this audio, please make sure that you do give Paula the recognition she deserves. It is thanks to her that we have this audio. So this particular audio is the friend of Jenn that she referred to in a few interviews where she talked about going bushwalking around at Lake Lizzie with a friend and having a friend out at St Cloud. And so officers went and did an interview with her on the 13th of March, and this is a recording of the interview. It's not an overly long interview, but I did want to dig into it and comment on some of the things that were said. Now, before I jump in, I just want to mention, I know I mentioned in previous videos that I have a members giveaway coming up, and if you all remember, I had originally said that with the latest members video that I posted yesterday, that if you left a comment on that video, then I would add you into the prize draw for the members giveaway, which I will draw in about a week's time. Since then I've realised that, well, the whole point of asking members to comment was so that I knew that you are still around and engaging with my channel, so that I'm not just randomly drawing someone who's not engaging with my channel and might not even realise they've won. So basically, if you're a member and you comment anywhere on my channel in this next week, you are automatically entered into the draw for the members' prizes. So just to clarify that, and just for anyone who was maybe considering membership, wondering if they would or wouldn't, just putting that out there for everyone to be aware of. Okay, so let's jump in and have a listen to this interview with Jenn's friend, Silvana.
The time is 9:09. It is March 13th, 2024. We are myself, Detective Morris, Detective Pinnell, reference to case number 24001896. And we are going to be interviewing Silvana, Sylvana Vester.
Sorry, I had to put some extra clothes on.
No, that's okay. That's good. I appreciate you talking to us. So, like I said, I'm the one that's investigating the death of Miss Maddie Soto. We received a tip this morning via our department, which led me out here saying you may or may not know the family or have somewhat of a history of the family.
I knew her a long time ago. She probably when she was like eight-ish.
And this is Maddie or
Maddie and Jenn.
Okay.
And sometimes we would go hiking with her in Lake Lizzie. It wasn't so much me, but my partner. And
at the reserve over there.
Yeah, Lake Lizzie.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I mean, everything seemed normal.
So this lady is the partner of the friend that Jenn used to go hiking with out at Lake Lizzie. Once again, Lake Lizzie comes into the conversation, and I'll just bring up the map of the area. So the pin at the bottom of the screen shows you the exact location that Maddie was found, and then if you look up and to the right a little bit, that's where Lake Lizzie is. And we know that Stephan didn't actually reach his intended destination because he had that blowout in his tyre. So it is quite feasible that he was headed for one of the lakes in the area. Possibly Lake Lizzie, possibly Alligator Lake. But I have to say, it is a heck of a coincidence that he seems to be headed for the exact area that Jenn used to take Maddie bushwalking. And supposedly he's never been out there, which would mean that either it's a hell of a coincidence or that Jenn perhaps is familiar with the area and suggested this was where to go.
How long have you known Jenn?
Audio. I mean, maybe a year or two. I'm gonna say I don't. I wasn't the one who was primarily involved. I mean, I met Maddie, right? I met her, and she was a sweet kid.
So I think I need to clarify that there. Based on what she originally said, I think there's been a bit of a misinterpretation there. He asked, how long have you known Jenn and Maddie? And she said a year or two. But I believe in her head she thought he'd asked, how long did you know Jenn and Maddie? Because she's already mentioned that she knew Maddie when Maddie was about 8-ish. And later in the interview she does say, it's been a long time since I saw them. So it's not that she has only just known them for 2 years, like since Maddie was 10, but at the time that she knew them for about 2 years. So I just wanted to clarify that. I know in the actual documents that the report was miswritten also, and said that this person had claimed that she'd only known Maddie and Jenn for a few years.
Do you want to go on? I don't. Do you want to for the sun? Do you want to?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
It's like right in my face.
So maybe I'd say a year or two, and that's just off of memory.
Mm-hmm.
And then she hooked up with that guy.
Okay.
Stephan. And again, just trying to remember, we probably knew them maybe another 4 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we didn't like them.
Okay, before I comment on what she was talking about, I just have to say, so often you hear people comment on, they come to Australia and they say that Australian birds are loud. But honestly, unless she's got an aviary there, then those birds are really loud. So going back to what she was saying, so basically what she's saying here is that actually they knew Jenn and Maddie before Stephan came onto the scene, and that then basically they cut ties with them about 4 or 6 months after Stephan came onto the scene. And we've all heard that kind of story where the more intuitive friends just don't like a partner, don't like a new partner, and either the partner starts calling the shots and saying, look, I don't want you to go and hang out with these people, or the friend, as in Jenn, starts feeling bad about hanging out with these people when she knows that they don't like her choice of partner. And usually there's a bit of a guilt thing there because probably deep down she knew herself that he wasn't an ideal choice for a friend or a partner. I mean, it's the classic story, isn't it? Someone hooks up with a person that they know is not ideal to be a partner or a friend, and they do feel a little bit guilty because they know, but they don't want to admit it to themselves. And they can sense in their friends that their friends don't approve. And instead of looking at the situation and thinking, well, okay, there's something in this, they turn their back on their friends. And you end up with this situation of a person being in a relationship that's just far from suitable. And the only people that they have around them by that point are either the yes ma'am kind of people who see that something's not right, but they're not going to say anything, or the people that are just so in their own world that they're utterly oblivious and aren't going to say anything anyway. And I think that's what's happened here. Jenn has basically isolated herself from the kind of people that would have had the intuition to say something is really not right here. And I think when you see that happening, it's definitely something that happens on a subconscious level. They don't want to be criticised for something that they personally do realise is not quite right.
You didn't like Stephan, or why not?
He was a scumbag.
Oh yeah.
We knew. Not that he would do that.
Right.
Never. I never had that, But he didn't have a job. Couldn't hold a job. Was proud about painting these stupid little plastic soldiers.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. I was just like, I resented that he got. I don't know how he stayed alive. Most of us have to work.
Right.
And I resented that. I resented it, right? So that he had the time to do that. But anyway, but I hardly ever talked to him. So like that was, we were like.
Now, I have no doubt whatsoever from the tone of her voice that she definitely believes all these things she's saying. But I just do want to mention that when you have someone that comes forward as a witness after the fact, you do have to take into consideration that they may be slightly tainted as a witness due to their knowledge of what has occurred. So in this case, she knows what Stefan did to Maddie. By that stage, it had been on the news, widely reported, and you can tell through her interview that she knows precisely what happened, meaning that when she looks back, she's going to see more of the negative things in relation to him. However, I think what she's saying definitely rings true. She said he was a scumbag, and hey, how can you argue with that? He definitely was a scumbag. And again, we get another person saying that she didn't think he was capable of the things that he did. This guy put forward this persona. He was quite a dangerous person when you think about it, because people just did not see what was right in front of them. He put on this act of being this hapless fool so that people just thought he was just a loser, a scumbag, and didn't actually consider that there could be more going on there. So he was very good at deceiving people by the sounds of it. But then she does talk about him not having a job and painting those stupid little plastic soldiers. And she mentions that she resented that he didn't work. So I'm guessing that she's probably someone who's worked her ass off her whole life. And to see him basically living, at that point in time, probably living rent-free off Jenn, having all his expenses paid by his parents and buying all that crap, I would be the same too. You know, if someone is not pulling their weight in society and having everyone else pay their expenses, it is pretty slack. So you can tell that she is someone who's got a really good moral compass. And it's a shame that these people were cut off from Jen's life, because I think they would have had the instincts to see that something was going wrong. She mentions that she hardly ever talked to him, and I can see why. Because if you disapprove of someone, you're really not going to want to talk to them, are you? And I think he would have sensed her disapproval of him, and it sounds to me that she certainly wouldn't have wanted to give him the time of day unless she really, really had to.
Where did you meet Jenn? And
So my partner's colleague knew her in high school.
okay,
Something like that. Like, was it Michelle knew Jenn in high school? I guess they went to, yeah. But I didn't know Michelle that well either. This is all, right, her friends. So I think so. Then they moved, I believe. I think they moved north, but I'm not sure. He found a job. So they left, and I thought. So then, Courtney tells me that they had to move back. I guess he lost his job. I don't know. And I thought they had split up at that point. Okay. Honestly, I thought they had split up. And I know Courtney said at that point they were having some issues.
So bearing in mind that she said that essentially they lost contact with Jenn after like 4 to 6 months after she got together with Stefan, she's talking about him losing his job and them splitting up and having issues really, really early on in the piece. This is before other times that we've heard of. So it sounds like they did have a somewhat rocky relationship. And honestly, I do question whether they ever had any sort of decent relationship, because you see the amount of disdain that Jenn has for him, and it certainly strikes me as a relationship where she looks down on him and she basically tolerates him for whatever reason. So, but it's certainly showing the same pattern that we've heard from so many other people. Him just being a loser who can't keep a job, and them not really having a decent relationship.
And Courtney said to Jenn, leave him. You don't do that. Right? You don't usually interfere in somebody's busince like that. Right. He was pretty bad enough that she was like, leave him. Now, we didn't, so we hardly knew, them once he entered their life.
Gotcha. Did they ever spend any time out here? Have they ever come here to visit?
She did come. Maddie came, not him. He never came here.
Okay.
We would never, I mean, I'm telling you, not like that guy.
Now, she said that she didn't believe that he would have done the things that he did. But at the same time, she's saying that her partner had told Jenn to leave him. And, like she says, it's not something that you would normally tell someone about their partner, because it's going to backfire in your face. So, clearly, they were seeing something in him that was not good at all. Maybe they just didn't identify what it was they were seeing, but to be turning around and saying, yeah, Jenn, leave him, and her saying, when asked, did they come here, and she's like, not him, he never came here, you could tell in her voice that he would not have been welcome there. So you have all these people who basically would not have welcomed Stefan at their house. He didn't go to Maddie's party because Jen's mother did not like him, and he was not welcome at her place. So that says to me that Jenn was well and truly aware of the fact that other people saw him as being a bit of a dropkick. And yet she was prepared to ignore that and still allow him access to her daughter at the same time. So what does that say about Jenn? I think we're getting a really definite picture here of one of those people who just becomes so obsessed with the boyfriend that she's more than willing to put aside friendships, more than willing to hide from her family that he's coming up to visit, because I honestly believe we heard from, I think it was Natalie, said that she had no idea that he was even there that night. And honestly, it seems to me I would not be the least bit surprised if the reason that he turned up at Jen's place at 8:45 and not before Maddie was dropped off was because Jenn didn't want her family to know that he was there. So, I mean, really, that is telling me that she knew he was bad news. She was basically, communication was cut off with people. Friendships were cut off. It just baffles me that she would do this and claim that she trusted this guy. I mean, I can understand, I've seen people do this where they become totally in love with someone and they ignore the warning signs that everyone else is telling them. But I just can't see Jenn ever actually having been in love with this guy. Not from the way she talks about him, not from her body language, not from her tone of voice. Nothing to me suggests that there was ever a decent relationship between them. And we hear this person saying, well, the relationship was already rocky. There was issues within that 4 to 6 months of them getting together.
She came here a couple times because they would hike and sometimes just get a drink or something, and before they left or something like that. But I couldn't tell you how often.
So did Jenn come out here with Maddie too?
Yeah.
Okay. But Stefan never came out here.
No.
Not even sitting out in the car or anything like that.
No. Courtney didn't like him.
Did she let it known to Jenn that she didn't like him?
I'm not sure at first.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. Right. I do know that once they were having issues, she told them.
She kind of let her.
Oh yeah.
Know her opinion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I don't know at first, because it's not really something appropriate to usually say to somebody.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Exactly.
Now, like I said before, being a witness after the fact, it makes it hard to really gauge her opinion of him, completely. But let's be honest, she's not afraid of, she's not backwards in coming forwards, that's for sure. She's making it pretty clear what she thinks of him. And even if it is looking at it in retrospect and thinking, yeah, this is what I thought of him, it's still honesty. I honestly believe her. I think she's being entirely truthful here. And it sounds like her partner very much disliked this guy and was not afraid to say to Jenn that she didn't like him, that she didn't approve of him, and that Jenn should leave him. So what does that tell you about Stephan? And I'm sorry, but that to me screams guilt on Jen's part yet again. If you have, now they said that this was about when Maddie was 8, which kind of fits in. I think maybe Maddie would have been a bit younger when Jenn met Stephan. But if you, let's just say, you have an 8-year-old daughter and you have friends telling you that your partner is bad news, you should leave him, friends who you are losing touch with because they don't approve of your partner, shouldn't you be questioning the safety of your child? shouldn't you be watching really carefully what sort of interactions are going on? No, maybe I'm just one of these people who's too cautious, but it just seems that from the get-go, Jenn was given all these signs that she was not in a good relationship. And she ignored them. She actually chose to ignore them, despite it being right under her nose. People were telling her the cold hard facts, and she still chose to ignore that.
God, I can't believe they found her body in the Demix property.
Yeah, that's why we're kind of concerned, especially knowing that you lived out here, that he may have been out here at some point, or...
Oh, no.
Yeah, he really has no ties to St. Cloud.
Yeah.
You know, so...
But does that actually do anything? Like, does that push forward the investigation in any way?
I mean, it could. Any little bit helps, you know.
So when she refers to the property by name, she's actually referring to the family name of the property owner. And there is a sworn statement that was made by him somewhere drifting around. I have put a FOIA request in for that. Hopefully they'll come through and send it. But it was also, this is something I discussed in a video several weeks ago, because I contacted Paula first and said, have you seen this particular statement, because I can't find it? And she said no, she didn't have it either, but it was one of the things that had been requested by the defence team for in Discovery. So it sounds like that particular statement may have been misfiled perhaps or something. But yeah, if I get a copy of it, I would certainly share. So she's referring to the name of the gentleman who owns the property where Maddie was found. Now, I don't normally quote other content creators in terms of information they've discovered, but the one exception to that is Plunder, because I know that she does her due diligence and she does her research. So I believe that she said that the location where Maddie was found was only about 7 or 8 miles from where this lady lives. So Maddie was found very, very close to this friend of Jenn's, very, very close to where Jenn used to take Maddie bushwalking, or hiking, I guess that's what you call it in the US. So it's very, very curious, especially when we know that the only reason that Maddie ended up where she was because of his blowout.
I mean, but no, he was never here.
Okay.
Never. Not that I know of, no.
When do you think the last time Jenn was out here with Maddie?
Oh, God. I don't know that it's got to be years. I mean, it's years. I don't, because like I said, she was probably 8 or 9, I'm going to guess.
Okay.
You know, just to remember, but years, that's, I mean, at that
Gotcha.
time.
Okay.
That would be
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
She's not, I mean, yeah, I didn't even know they were together. And I sure as heck didn't know that he was doing the things he did.
Right.
I can't believe that nobody did anything.
I can't believe that nobody did anything. So in her eyes, there were things that should have been noticed. She's basically acknowledged in this interview that Stefan was bad news, and it sounds like it's her belief that the people around Jenn should have been paying attention to what was going on there and should have realised that something was not right. And I have to agree. I've done several videos where I've broken down like things to do with the teachers. I've spoken about Deb Stearns and comments that she's made that made it clear that these people were seeing things, they were hearing things. They just weren't making the right connection, or in the case of Stefan's Disney girlfriend, burying her head in the sand, even though she said that she had originally trained to be a teacher. So she should have been a responsible person who should have been prepared to step up and put in a report over the things that Stephan told her. So I have to say, I agree with her. I can't believe nobody said anything or did anything.
But yeah, I don't know what. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what he was doing around. I have no idea what brought him here because he wasn't. It's not his area. He never went hiking. Even I know of. Never anything. So I don't know.
Gotcha.
So that comment makes me look back at Jenn again. She says, I have no idea what brought him here. He never went hiking or anything. In other words, she's saying that he himself has no connections to the area where they found Maddie. And as far as she knows, he hadn't actually been out there himself. And it sounds like that particular spot where Maddie was found was a little bit isolated. When you look at the map, it's not in a built-up housing area. It's just these larger properties with, houses spread out a long way apart. And then, the closest thing was Alligator Lake or Lake Lizzie. So for her to be saying this makes me once again turn around and look at Jenn. Especially because this is an area that Jenn clearly knew quite well. It's a little bit disturbing when you think of it that way. And I know that he's spent a lot of time in Kissimmee and he'd been out to St Cloud to the shops and stuff like that. But we're talking about the back roads, out the back of Whoop Whoop, basically. So her saying that, especially because we also heard the same thing from Jenn, she was, ironically, when she was asked about places that he might know and around St Cloud and stuff, she also said he'd never been out that way, and she referred to this same friend whose partner has now come forward with this statement. So I find that really curious. I don't know if this interview occurred because they contacted her after getting the information from Jenn. That interview with Jenn occurred on the 1st of March. Maddie was found on the 1st of March. They may have been busy working on the sort of the post-discovery part of the investigation and not had time to do an interview until the 13th. But certainly for me, it is a red flag when you have both Jenn and this woman basically saying, as far as I know, Stefan's never been out to that spot, never been out to that area, never been out to that lake. And yet that's where it seems he was headed. So that actually brings us to the end of her interview. It's quite a short video this time around, I know, but it's a short interview. Like I said before, I have put in, or I will put in, a FOIA request for this one, and if I can get that FOIA request back, then I will put this out as a uninterrupted video, just like the other ones that I've got on my channel. So that brings us to the end. I apologise for the very, very loud air conditioning in the background, especially having reached the part of the afternoon in the second half of this video where I would have melted had I not had the aircon running. So apologies for that. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. Help me to just get that little bit closer to 4,000 subscribers. I'm almost there. And of course, if you like my content, hit the like button. That helps me get these videos back out into the algorithm and get some seen by people. And of course, please leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts about this interview. Is there anything that stood out to you that I maybe missed? Is there any connections that maybe I should have made that I haven't done so? So thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.
I begin to wonder